Right, so hello once again. We are here, guys. The Strong Boys 19 here, and this is going to be the fourth live stream, and we are going to be taking a look at some of the few comments that I had received from a few of you guys on one of the community section posts, and I'm going to have a look at it right now. Immediately, like around half an hour before doing this, somebody decided to click the thumbs up button. Whoever you are, thank you very, very much. I had to get myself prepared because I decided to just clean my teeth and wear contact lenses and have a refreshing glass of water with me. So, first of all, I hope you guys are doing very well. I hope you are staying safe during the whole chaotic madness that's been going around. And as soon as I decided to click the go live button, somebody decided to send me 5 comments. I'm going to check if everything is good. 1, 2. Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. I just decided to check and see if my mic is on the streaming software that I use with the webcam, because last time, from the first 2 attempts, the mic wasn't on. But anyways, by the way, guys, type in if you can hear me and see if the connection is good where you're at, because I don't want to, mess something up, or YouTube messing up the connection. So with that being said, let's jump right into some of the comments. As you can see from the little message box, I guess like a message box, it's going to be on the suggested music topics and sharing tastes. So what I mean by the sharing taste part is that I feel like that we should be open and share anything we like to talk about that involves music, and share whatever kind of stuff in music that we like, and even with some bands or artists that you like that are outside your usual zones of loving metal or rock. I'm just going to check the comments on my phone. Hopefully it doesn't change anything drastically, because I've been putting this phone on charge, so bear with me for a moment. Itachi, I might have mispronounced that. If I mispronounce it correctly, I'm sorry. Hello there. I found the interview of Johnny Cash saying that Elvis Presley opens the doors for all of us. The interview is in the documentary The Roots of Country, Elvis Presley. It's on YouTube. I have not watched that, but from what you said just now, it's looking pretty good from what I can see. I was listening to Iron Maiden albums from 1980 to 1992. That's another thing that involves Iron Maiden we're going to be talking about. Not just me, but you guys. This stream, we're going to involve the demise of legendary producer Martin Birch, who sadly passed away yesterday at the age of 71. And he is renowned for his amazing and perfect sounds of production on a lot of Maiden's albums. And it was quite a shock, because when I listened back to Iron Maiden in prep for the separate reviews on the albums in their discography that I've done, I will always cite that Martin Birch is one of the greatest producers of all time. He had done other amazing albums that have been produced masterfully, from bands such as Rainbow to Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, etc. So he will always be one of my top 5 producers of all time. So he really boosted the sound and the quality of the sound of Maiden's music up the map into some top-notch sound of guitars to drums, keyboards, and the sound of the vocals. The mixing was absolutely perfect on a lot of Maiden's albums. And I will have to say it is a privilege for me and many fans to be a fan of his production. Um, so if you want to say your thoughts about Martin Birch as a producer, please type away. I am really interested to know what your thoughts are on Martin as a producer, because I think he is as important and as a big figure in the album production scene, not only for Maiden but for the other greats of albums. Anyway, let's check. Let's check once again. Hopefully, if it's all good for you guys, two people thumbs up. Um, Multilate HD, I know who you are, mate. My buddy James, how are you doing, mate? I hope you and your girlfriend are doing very well. If you like remixes of DJs to dubstep, then check out his YouTube channel and subscribe if you like that kind of stuff. Shizazzle, welcome back. Welcome back, my mate, to tune in. Thank you very much. I'm just going to check if everything's all right and good and ready so far. Two people thumbs up, 6 people watching. I'm going to shut this door too because I would like to just be in the focus, be in the mind of interacting with you guys, and be in a positive attitude. So, James, I'm roasting, bro. Hope you're okay. Yeah, mate. The weather has been absolutely strange, but it went from that to abysmal last few days, and even today it's crazy hot, 30 degrees. This week it's just going to be of a hell of a ride of hot temperatures. So yeah, share your thoughts about Martin Birch, legendary producer, and I love the production on albums like Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath to Rising from Rainbow. Love that sound of Rising as well. Brilliant tone on the guitars to the drums, and it's the same thing with Heaven and Hell, really. But you just cannot forget that legendary bands made classic albums are as important as producers. I love other producers, including Rick Rubin. Besides that, he did get quite a lot of flack on overproduction lately, and loads of producers have their own identity. They have their own sound of their own. Like George Martin, for example. George Martin, legendary producer for the Beatles. And a lot of people will say he is the fifth Beatle. I can see why. But then there's Brian Epstein. Brian Epstein, whoever you want to pronounce it as. But yeah, George Martin is another one of my favourites. And even bands do produce albums very, very masterfully in top-notch form. John Daly Covers. Hello there, mate. Hope you're okay as well. Deep Purple albums, Deep Purple in rock, Machine Head. Yeah, all those classic albums. Machine Head is one of my favourite albums of all time. But I think Burn is one of the best produced albums in Deep Purple's discography. It's possibly my favourite. Deep Purple in rock is fantastic. Fireball is absolutely great as well. On the subject of Deep Purple, they have released a new album. They haven't, released anything new for some time, but they have made a new album called Whoosh, which I have not listened to yet. Personally, I haven't been at a phase of Deep Purple, but I really like a lot of their stuff. The last time that I had reviewed any Deep Purple album was on the album Now What back in 2013. Yeah, 2013. And I'll have to check out the later albums after that one. John Daly Covers. I'm doing okay. Glad to hear that. Thank you, mate. How are you? I'm doing really well. Um, it's a thing that I do think to myself, because with all of the madness for now that has been going around, I really do feel still positive, but at the same time, I try not to look up the negativity and the attention of the chaos that's been going around. And I did mention this before on one of my personal vlogs from the channel, but at least I decided to just be away from the drama and the noise, listen to music, watch YouTube on stuff that I like to watch, and also to see you guys interactively. That's what I love. That's what I love doing, and especially with me listening to music and playing some more guitar and working more in hand, etc. But thank you for asking. What music have you been listening to recently? So, for music, since a few days ago, I had been listening back to Dream Theater's discography because I wanted to come back to bands that are in completion. I haven't heard all of the albums from the band yet, but I had been listening to a lot more albums. The albums that I've listened to so far: Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory, Falling into Infinity for the first time. Same goes with 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Now, that album, in my opinion, is very underrated. I'm really surprised that some people overshadow it and not see it as one of the best. But from what I had heard on that album, I really like it a lot. For other bands, I think I'm at a bit of a buzz with Mike Patton, as that I've been listening to Faith No More. And also, if you follow Mr. Bungle on Instagram, like I have done, because I'm a huge fan of Mr. Bungle, did you see the very short trailer of a snippet of new material? That is something worth of an anticipation. I know that Mr. Bungle are releasing a new release of their first demo back in 1986. Even if it's not an original studio album of new material, I'm still eagerly anticipated. But I've listened to Black Sabbath again with the album The Eternal Idol, a bit of Devin Townsend, Kingdom, especially with his hilarious and very fun performance of him by himself um, in the support for Diodario strings. That was a great, great little performance, immensely popular. Um, I mentioned Black Sabbath in the chat. Yep, Black Sabbath, another band that I love. Actually, sorry, mate. I'm gonna look at some of your other comments. Listening to the first album of Black Sabbath for the first time. Really liked the first song. Yeah, the title track. Some of the most evil and menacing shit you'll ever hear. And The Wizard and NIB. I love The Wizard. It's obviously a bluesy tone, and NIB is one of my favourite Sabbath songs of all time. In my top 10, it's so catchy. Um, uh, Hello, Jordan. I did see your comments, but I was responding to the other comments, obviously, but I'll have a look at yours. Do you speak still to Moonsorrow 15? I used to like the old videos you did together. Yes, my best friend Callum, he's not a YouTuber pretty much anymore. He's pretty much moved on from making videos, and he's at his own way of his personal life. So he lives by himself in his own flat, but we do like to talk to each other. We should really talk more often because loads of things have happened along the way between ourselves. I've been doing my bit and he's doing his own bit. He's been playing Fortnite a lot and does like to, chill, but he does look after himself very well, so I'm very glad that he's feeling good for himself. That's the way, mate. Focusing on the positivity keeps you happy. Yeah, exactly. with positive mental attitude, when I had first said that type of topic back in 2019, I think, that was something very new to me at the time, as that I was inspired by other people to think about it, be in a really productive and at your own pace of positivity. It's crazy warm still. I don't know about you, but the rain had been blazing a bit, and it's 8:15 here. It's still pretty warm. Uh, Good thing I'm keeping myself refreshed. Sorry, I'm going backwards and forwards, a bit sidetracked here. I'm just like in a pretty exciting mood to do this stream again. But one of the things about positive mental attitude is that if you want to do what you want to do that makes you happy, you have to you have to think to yourself, if you are doing something that you feel comfortable with, and if you feel stressed out on one thing or others, do take a break and just relax. And speaking of that, I will be uploading a recorded video that I had done many, many weeks ago, well, since a few months, about my experience on meditation. So that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to see from the comments from you guys. That will be up very soon. I did mention that on the previous live stream, but I didn't upload it after that third stream. I will upload that. There are so many things that I would like to say about the positive mental attitude, but I did make separate videos about it. So check it out if you want. Some person named Cam, Angelic to the Core is the best album ever made. Now, if I look at that comment from somebody that I don't know, are you fucking with me or what? I can tell maybe that is some sarcasm. Speaking of that, I did see another about it from Shizazzle, which I'll get to really quickly. Richie Blackmore, wow, what a brilliant guitar player. I really like Richie Blackmore. Really cool guitar player. But there's something about him as a person that feels like he is. I don't know what it is. It's something like he's a bit of a boaster type of person, a bit of an ego person. I could be wrong. That's the thing with musicians that I do love. I love listening to musicians and their talent, especially with the ones that I love that inspire me to either become a musician or just to support them and buy albums physically. But being a musician in person and to be beloved as a musician for the talent are two different things. I don't mind the personalities of some musicians, but the ones that I really don't like are just the ones that they feel like they are big-headed and very arrogant and negative. Um, but there are some that I love for the talent that are in that kind of personality. I'm not going to just dislike a musician for the talent as well as the personality, because with talent, that's what I love to hear the most. I'm thinking about musicians as people. Of course, there are other musicians whose personalities are extremely supportive and humble and dedicating, and I do look out for these kinds of musicians and anybody really, locally or anywhere. But like I said, I'm just in it for the music and for the talents of anybody that I look out to. I could go on about this type of topic as well, but that could be something new for a new video for a change. But that is something very interesting to talk about. John Daly covers, is it okay to like bands and singers even if you don't know every single song or album? I feel I have to listen to all the albums, but at the same time, I guess it's okay to like what you like, isn't it? That is basically the thing. You can like what you like, John. You can like bands and singers for who they are, and you can just love an artist or a band immediately, even if you haven't heard every single song or album yet. But if you love them, you'll be diving into that. You'll be diving into that phase of heavy listening more and more over time. And once you're obsessed, you're obsessed. Shazazzle, I watched your video on the Angelic to the Core. That was one of the funniest videos I've seen in some time. Yes, thank you very much, Shazazzle. It had to be done. It had to be done. Um, like I said from my review on Lulu from Metallica and Lou Reed, um, the reactions to Angelic to the Core were real. And after recording that, I was having such a reaction in the brain that it's like a little all over the place at the time. But yeah, Angelic to the Core. I don't want to talk about it. If you want to hear my thoughts, anybody that hasn't seen the review, just check it out. It's on the playlist on series really called Sabotage Bad Albums. It is on a separate playlist, yes. Um, but I need to come back to that segment. I think the next one I did mention I will tackle on listening back and review Morbid Angel's Illu Divinium Insanus. So I'm not going to just review an album negatively in that segment and just, think it's good to not listen to it again. I have to listen to these albums again just to get in of a better preparation for reviews like that. So that's going to come hopefully maybe in the next few weeks or the next month or so. Um, James again. I've been listening to a lot of Hollywood Undead recently. I like the hybrid style of rock synths and basses with rap vocalists. Hollywood Undead, I do respect their own sound and I guess their own form of original identity, but with bands with masks, they have their own identities. Slipknot to Mushroom Head and early Mr. Bungle, etc. But for me, Hollywood Undead, it's great that you like it, mate. But they're just not the sound for me. They're just not my cup of tea. I remember seeing a couple of music videos back in the day from the channels of I think it was mainly from Kerrang in a way of Undead and I think it was Everywhere I Go, I think, or Everywhere We Go, whatever. It's been too long since I've last listened to those guys, but they're not my cup of tea. Not to say that they are bad musicians. Um, what's up, Brody? Edgewood, how you doing? Just Common Logic. Hey, I'm making a long form review of Angelic to the Core by Corey Feldman. Is it okay if I use a few clips from your review? It would be very appreciated. Um, the thing with that is, um, I did I did go through that phase that somebody did ask me and decides to use a video that somebody else decides to put in their video. I would say that it's not a bad option, but I'll have to check out your channel. But I don't really know. I don't really know who you are, to be honest. But if you are an album reviewer, if you want to, send me a link to one of your videos, I could check it out. If I like it, then I'll be okay with it. I'll be okay with it, and it's great that you're asking permission as well, because I don't really like that some people like to make videos and add someone else's videos without their permission whatsoever, because it's unoriginal and it's pretty rude. But I would like to see your content But since you've asked, by all means, least go for it. But if you decided to add a bit of my review on that album, please send me the link. I'll let you know how I would feel about it. As surprisingly, one of your messages now is held for review. I'm just starting it, so yeah, I've just been fucking around. No good videos yet. So I'll give you the chance. But like I said, I'm glad you asked permission. Let's see. Itachi again. Um, the members of Pink Floyd didn't like Atom Heart Mother album. I listened to the album and I like it. I liked it a lot. I know Pink Floyd had released albums that they are dissatisfied. Umaguma being one of the examples. Umaguma took me a while to appreciate. I really enjoy the live album so much. But for the studio album, I can see why a lot of people dislike it. It's very avant garde with weird effects and just some unconventional avant garde styles. But I do like some uncompromising music for those types of reasons, like Captain Beefheart or Frank Zappa, for example. But Omaguma took me some time to get used to it. I like it a lot. And with Atom Heart Mother, it wasn't a record that I was disliking when I first listened to it, but it was not one of my favorites. When I played it over and over and over, I really got to appreciate that one, like Umaguma, but I think it's more of the favorite. I love the title track of Atom Heart Mother Suite to If, and also Fat Old Son. It's a really underrated album. It's personally my favorite underrated Pink Floyd album. Even though that the Division Bell is very underrated as well, and that album I placed higher in my discography ranking over some of the albums like The Wall and Piper at the Gates of Dawn. So Atom Heart Mother is something that does take a lot of you know a better listening experience. That's what I was looking for to anybody's ears if they would like to get into something like that. Just Common Logic, I bought a physical copy of the album for the review. Well, for Angelic to the Core, Just Common Logic, I'll have to say good luck. Good luck to you. Good luck with that. But I bet your reaction is going to be the same or different. But here's the thing. If you want to make videos, you have to be original. And yes, I went through the very early phases of not thinking of, my own voice, my own sound, and my own content, and just to copy people. I know that was just something that was silly, but that was at the time that I started YouTube. But be original as you can. Listening to Revolution Number 9 by the Beatles, it sounds like Pink Floyd. It's more avant-garde. It's more avant-garde than like a proggy Pink Floyd sound. John Daly covers. I have my very own Queen tribute jacket that I have been making for the past 6 months. It looks finished, but there is much more to go. That's really cool. I do like Queen a lot. They are one of my favourite bands, but I do prefer the rockier era of Queen. Anyway, so, guys, let's jump into the comments from some of you that gave me great ideas for the live stream. Let's have a look here. Zyle, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Zyle Chodhuri, what about best albums of each decade, like a top 10 or 20 list from the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. And Guitar Storm's comment, a topic like when great bands make a complete U-turn and experiment, then hastily turn back to their roots when the next album comes along, Or one of the other suggestions, great bands whose members released even better solo albums. So, I would like to spread these suggestions around to you lot. You can answer what they're saying as well. Not just for me to answer, but I would like to get these topics involved. Hence, the main purpose of this video is suggested music topics I've just read out and sharing music tastes like I've been doing for some time. Well, let's go to Guitar Storm's suggestion about bands making a complete U-turn and experiment and turn back to their roots when the next album comes along. I'll have to say, obviously, one of the best bands that decides to start things very simple in songwriting basics and decide to change and progress massively in later styles to influences of artists and production, etc. The Beatles. The Beatles are one of the masters. For me, being a massive Beatles fanatic, I really enjoy tons of the poppy stuff. Even with some of the brilliant covers from Please Please Me, with the Beatles, but when they were becoming fully original and to get a hold of finding their own sound from A Hard Day's Night onwards, that is the kind of stuff that I love. My favourite period of the Beatles is mainly from Help to Abbey Road, although Let It Be is one of my favourite Beatles albums. So you got the various genres from the Beatles, from psychedelia to folk to blues, the avant-garde, experimental stuff on the poppiness of Sgt. Pepper's, the drugged out lyrical content and the studio effects and the very trippy sound of Revolver, to the variety packed gem on the White Album, with a lot of the songs written by most of the Beatles separately. And then we go to Abbey Road, which is like a big focus and a focused a completion of their own sound as a band properly, because Let It Be was made at a difficult crisis personally and emotionally, as well as with the songwriting from each of the band, the tensions between obviously John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and the unfairness of not using a lot of George Harrison's compositions to be included for the later Beatles albums. And with Ringo Starr, going through the rough experience at the same time as the rest of the band. But the Beatles, with their own sounds, I could really address so many things about why the Beatles, with their separate albums, are very special. But I would like to go in depth of talking about each Beatles album from the first album to the last album. For other bands that decide to change themselves and experiment, Pink Floyd being one of them, they were at first a psychedelic rock band because with Syd Barrett, he founded Pink Floyd and released The Piper at the Gate of Dawn, which is one of my favourite psychedelic rock albums and one of my close to top 5 favourite Floyd records. It had a lot of charm. It's very passionate. It's so delicate in style and production, especially with the album cover art. I love some of the songs on there. Astronomy Domain, Interstellar Overdrive to Matilda Mother, Lucifer Sam, Bike, which is still my favourite Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd era song. And then you got A Saucer Full of Secrets, where they became really spacey, and only to feature more on David Gilmour as a big introduction to him as a household name later on and a prolific member in Pink Floyd's history. And with Jug Band Blues to have Syd Barrett on that only one track. So when it comes to bands making either a U-turn and to switch back into the genre from an earlier sound, or just to go overblown with many new influences, with new songwriting abilities. I really like that there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff to look out for. You know, the Beatles are one of those perfect examples, and Pink Floyd. For other ones, I mean, David Bowie. David Bowie's another artist where They started. Um, well, David Bowie is one of those artists that a lot of people think that they started things very, very simple and they haven't found their sound yet. And that is true. David had not found his sound yet until his album on Hunky Dory and The Man Who Sold the World. And yeah, you've got Space Oddity with a lot of the acoustic guitars and some of the piano playings, but with his rich and passionate sounds, especially for the Ziggy Stardust era, when the glam rock scene was at a huge, big movement. The rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars to Aladdin Sane, which is another one of my favourite Bowie albums. I love Aladdin Sane a bit more than Ziggy Stardust still, but for the later path of Bowie's career, you know, the ones where he went into the phase of German krautrock and ambient music, and to go experimental, like on the Berlin trilogy, and especially with Station to Station, that period of Bowie is always my favourite. My favourite era on Bowie, from Station to Station to Low and Heroes. Those three albums, to me, are Bowie's best. And I really like Lodger a lot as well. And some albums make a complete U-turn of changing people's reactions, of hearing something totally unexpected, either positively or negatively. And that is when Earthling from Bowie comes around. Earthling, a very drum and bass, techno packed album that is fantastic, and it is one of those underappreciated experiments. It is an experiment that I did love listening to from Bowie in the late 90s. So, you know, with artists besides David Bowie that go through different phases of making different styles of albums that are separate from each other, but then changing things back into something basic. Um, I will have to say, maybe Frank Zappa, even though his discography is immensely huge, mad discography, from being just a childish, humorous, yet tight and complex style band of the Mothers of Invention, until he went solo when he was finding himself in his own ways, with his solo efforts, Hot Rats, to some of the later era of the Mothers, from Overnight Sensation to the jazzy stuff on the Grand Wazoo, and some live albums like Roxy and Elsewhere, and Bongo Fury with Captain Beefheart. Bongo Fury is something switching things down to basics, because some of the guitar licks are pretty bluesy and sometimes pretty jazzy from the wild saxophones and the noises everywhere. It's really jam based, that album as well, especially onto the tracks like Sam with the Showing Scalp Flat Top to Advanced Romance, Muffin Man. Muffin Man is a beast of a great jam of a track. Um, Brian Eno. Brian Eno used to be in Roxy Music, and they were like, I guess, a glam poppy, um, new wavy-ish style group with Brian Ferry. But I think for Eno to leave that behind and to switch himself into becoming himself in his own identity, finding his own path, to make ambient albums and experimental records like Another Green World, to Here Come the Warm Jets, collaborative stuff as well with David Byrne from Talking Heads, and also being the producer for others like Coldplay and Talking Heads as well. U2. I love that some artists make music that I connect with, that puts me in such a trance of being in a different world. And it's not because that the albums themselves have their own identity, which they do, but even if that an album can draw me in from any style of music, I feel connected, I feel involved. I feel involved with what's going on. I feel like inspired. But with music to make myself feel reflective about thinking about who I am from my past to where I am today, Brian Eno's music is a big reflection on that. And yeah, on that word reflection, one of his albums is called Reflection. But some of these suggestions are really, really good. Great bands whose members released even better solo albums. Well, Brian Eno, I did mention him. Um, I think John Lennon made brilliant solo albums, but his time with the Beatles is greater. His discography felt very real, very personal, and he's always the one for me. He's the one that I connect with for making music that was just very engaging and yet so important and relevant to other people's feelings. You know, a lot of his songs spread a lot of messages that people can connect and relate to him with what he is saying. And he's one of the reasons why he's my favourite musician of all time. I love many others, but John Lennon is the best. He's the best. Just to think of any musician being true to himself and make music that involves stuff personally and really deep, positively and negatively. You know, he's the man. Bob Dylan. I know that he was not in a band, although he did play with the Hawks, who would later on obviously become the band. Bob Dylan had released a lot of classic albums that a lot of people do agree with his messages on the political stuff, that he was known as the voice of a generation, and to call him a legend and genius as a whole, with records like Blood on the Tracks to Blonde on Blonde, some of his later stuff, like I really like Time Out of Mind and Love and Theft, to his new album Rough and Rowdy Ways. For other solo artists, Frank Zappa, I mentioned him, was a really versatile and unique artist. Some of my favorite albums of all time, on my new experience of hearing something very changeable, excuse me, and yet so new to me for my eardrums. One of the albums being We're Only In It For The Money by the Mothers of Invention, and also with Captain Beefheart with Trout Mask Replica. That took me so many attempts to fully appreciate and understand that record. And Captain Beefheart as a solo artist, well, mainly with his backing band, the Magic Band, he's another legend that I love. Love his albums as well, like Clear Spot, to other stellar ones, Dock at the Radar Station, to Lick My Decals Off Baby, to the Spotlight Kid, that had some really good moments. I really don't like where he went into a U-turn and make something that I don't like Unconditionally Guaranteed, which is one of the most blandest and stylist, safest attempts to try and be commercialized. That's another thing about musicians where they try to be commercial because of the pressure from the record labels. Sometimes that just gets into a lot of people's reactions indifferently, and it can put the reputation of a musician's career down, which is a huge shame. Um, Other solo artists I do admire. I'm just looking through the collection here. So I've mentioned Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart, David Bowie, Brian Eno, Tom Waits. He's another legend. Another one that started things very soft and very swimmingly on his piano jazzy style albums, Closing Time, To the Heart of Saturday Night, until he found his own raspy voice on Small Change, to go completely overboard with the later works on records like Swordfish Trombones, to Rain Dogs, and um, just to become another very different artist that changes everything in his career. So, with solo artists that I haven't heard a lot of solo albums yet, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Bungle, but I haven't been diving into Mike Patton's solo stuff. I did see that he was obviously in loads of other projects, but I really like a lot of some of his projects that he's been with other members like um, Dave Lombardo, to Buzz Osborne from the Melvins, to um, Terry Bozzio, I think that's the name, who did drums for Korn's Untitled album. I think that's the name. But it's it's something very much worth the investigation. If you haven't heard some of the stuff that I've been talking about, I would recommend it. I would recommend some great shit that is worth your time. And like I said earlier, by all means least, you can say your answers to these suggestions. Um, Best albums of each decade from Chodhuri's suggestion. Again, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. I've got to stop, beating myself up if I mispronounce a name sometimes, because mostly I do ask how I would pronounce their names, but you know, I just don't want to feel bad and sound like just an idiot. For best albums of each decade, like a top 10 or 20 list from the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc., that is a lot of thinking to do, because um, I love music from the past years. I have loved a lot of music mainly from 60s to 70s so much. If I mention this, maybe I did. I used to think that the 1980s was my least favorite, but the more I listened to music from some of my favorite albums of all time from that decade, I just thought, like, why is that your least favorite decade? It's not. It's not my least favorite decade. I think one of the reasons why I personally felt that some of the genres were really overblown with popularity. Like, I'm not a fan of like the glam hair metal style bands, and some of the songs that sounded very cheesy and loudly produced with tinny drums to tons of reverb, etc. But I am glad that there are people that love that kind of stuff. But in my opinion, it's not my kind of era. But there are loads of classic 80s albums that I admire, like Stone Roses' self-titled. So I'll mention some classics from the 80s. Stone Roses' self-titled from 1989, Metallica with Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, to, some early Anthrax, some Slayer, Rain in Blood, and South of Heaven, which I think South is one of their best albums. But if you want to say some of your favorite albums from the decades I will mention, please share away, as that we would like to talk to each other, not only just to talk to me, but to talk to each other in the comments. Other albums from the 1980s. Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. I can't name them all because it'll be a big list. A huge list. Power Slave by Iron Maiden and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which to me are two of the best Maiden albums with Bruce Dickinson. Another one, From Enslavement to Obliteration, and Scum from Napalm Death. I'm trying not to draw blanks here, but there's obviously, loads that you just would love to say more, as I accidentally stuttered there. I'm just going to go through some of the collection for a bit. Other 1980s albums that I love. Some of the underrated 80s classics. I love Thursday Afternoon from Brian Eno. I am roasting. Jeez. Sweating. So I'll open the window. Then I'll turn on my lamp. But I think that's all I could think of for the 1980s. For the 1960s, can't go wrong with a lot of the Beatles. Love the classics. Sgt. Pepper, Rubber Soul, Revolver, The White Album, and Abbey Road. I even admire Magical Mystery Tour. The Who with The Who Sell Out and Tommy. The Stones, Beggar's Banquet, Between the Buttons, Let It Bleed. To some of the early Stones, I love the US version of Out of Our Heads. Rolling Stones number 2, which some Stones fans don't really regard the very early period Stones as the classics, one of the classics, but I love that kind of stuff. King Crimson with in the Court of the Crimson King, Blue Cheers, Outside Inside, Frank Zappa, Hot Rats, and again We're Only In It For The Money by the Mothers of Invention, to Uncle Meat. Bob Dylan with his Electric Trilogy, to Jimi Hendrix Experience, with Are You Experience, to Electric Ladyland. I like Axis Boulder's Love a lot, but the other two I love better. Even though that the production for Axis Boulder's Love is, for me, their best album cover in that era of Jimi Hendrix's timeline. But for me, my favourite produced Hendrix album from the Experience is Electric Ladyland. Captain Beefheart with Trout Mask Replica. Just a variety of gems from the 60s. Cream, Disraeli Gears, and I'm going to go over a bit to see which album from the 60s I love as much. You see, I'm drawing blanks here. Sorry about that. But that's all I could think of for now. By the way, if you want to see which albums I have rated a lot, go to my rateyourmusic.com account, rateyourmusic.com, and my user is Sergeant Pepper's Music Buff. That is one of the websites I go to a lot to rate albums, and you'll see the total amount of albums that I've rated from 5 stars to a half a star, and a few unrated ones. There is a big wish list of albums that I want in the collection, like really badly. Even albums that I think are going to be really good, but most of them that are on that pile are the classics that will I will be eagerly buying. Some near perfect albums that I want as well. For the 1970s, The Who with Live at Leeds to Quadrophenia and Who's Next. Some live albums are classics to me. Band of Gypsies by Jimi Hendrix to Low and Heroes and Station to Station, as I said, from David Bowie, to some of the krautrock stuff. Tangerine Dream with Phaedra, Rubicon, and Force Majeure to Can, Tago Mago, Future Days, and I Love Soon Over Babaluma. Brian Eno, Ambient One Music for Airports to Another Green World. Let's see now. King Crimson again with Lark's Tongues in Aspic and Islands, which is a very underrated album from the band that I admire. Black Sabbath, Sabotage, Paranoid, Volume 4, and some Elton John, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, to Loving Honky Chateau, and Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks, and the Basement Tapes with the band. Even though that was recorded in 1967, it wasn't out officially for the first time until 1975. I've been missing out some albums that I admire that are from the 80s and the 60s, but feel free to share many other albums that you consider to be some of the best from the decades I've mentioned so far. 1970s is possibly my favourite decade, possibly one of my favourite decades of all time in music history, besides the 60s. That's all I could think about. But if there are some that I haven't said, that I have talked about on an update video or on an album review, you can see them. For 1990s, personally, I think the 1990s is, for me, a better year. A better year for music. You got the grunge scene from the classics of In Utero by Nirvana, and some Oasis I love, Definitely Maybe, and What's the Story, Morning Glory. Slipknot Self-Titled, to some Iron Maiden with The X Factor. I love that album. To some of the other 90s gems, some Cannibal Corpse like Tomb of the Mutilated and Bloodthirst, which is very underrated. So I am looking over there. I've just been looking at some of the collection. The 1990s is a really versatile decade for music, even though that the heavy metal scene was fading away, and with other genres that are growing big, like alternative metal to grunge, and even some of the rap scene that are becoming explosive. And I do think that some of the 90s eras are one of the best in music, as strongly as the 70s and the 60s. Faith No More with Angel Dust. Now, speaking of Faith No More, I will be talking about them again for my next update video, and they are a band that I've been playing a lot. Another 90s classic, I said it before and I'll say it again, Mr. Bungle's self-titled album. I did review that album. It is one of my favourite albums of all time. DJ Shadow's Introducing, Cypress Hill's Black Sunday, Nas Illmatic. I love 90s Green Day with Insomniac and Dookie. You know, so many that I could just think about in the top of my head that I haven't really thought of any more albums. But yeah, that's a really good set of albums, I think. These suggestions were definitely making things better for this stream. 10 viewers. I'm really pleased that these streams lately have been getting a lot of attention. Thank you so much so far for the 7 likes. And for the albums of the 2000s, there wasn't so many that I love from the 2000s. But I guess I could name a bit more. Obviously, with Slipknot's Iowa to Tool Lateralis and Mastodon Crack the Sky, which is to me the best albums peak of the 2000s. Love that album to bits. Machine Head with The Blackening. I would have put in Through the Ashes of Empires, but that's near perfect for me. And when it comes to some metal in the 2000s, that was at a time that metal was really becoming even more dominating and as stronger as when metal began from the 1970s, like from Sabbath to Priest and others that are involved in the genre, Deep Purple to Led Zeppelin, and with Blue Cheer from the 60s, like late 1960s. Check them out as well. Check out the first 2 albums. Some very, very fucking buzzy bass, so distorted, and with fuzzy guitar solos, huge over-the-top sound by just a trio. 3 guys. So listen to that band, Blue Cheer. Blue, it's Cheer. So, the 2000s is another excellent period for music. White Pony by the Deftones. How could I forget that one? Jeez. So, I think in the future, guys, I will be more than likely to share some more of these suggested topics in future streams, and as well as that I would like to do some more of these collaborative reviews with other people, and it really does help the channel to continue the boosting and the attention that the channel deserved. And I don't mean that in like in a begging way. Like, I want my channel to be noticed. I'm not like that at all. But you just made the channel what it is, just to get a lot of its popularity, and I am grateful for that. I'm gonna turn on the lamp. Excuse me. Sneezed. Need a drink. Shouldn't be wearing black. It's my Quadrophenia t-shirt by The Who. Let's go back to some of the comments that I've been seeing that's been sent. Sorry if I've missed a lot, but I will read all of them. One of my favourite songs by Iron Maiden is 22 Acacia Avenue. 22 Acacia Avenue is a brilliant, brilliant song, and I think it was one of my favourites from The Number of the Beast, actually. John Daly Covers, would you ever do a video of your top 10 favourite bands? It's funny you should say that because I was talking to myself sometimes on my own which bands I would have put in the top 10. But if I would have done that, it would have been so difficult. I would definitely, more than likely, be making a top 20 or top 25 just to make things acceptable and to like the list enough to make a video on that. But thank you for reminding me for that. Your favorite song from New England? New England. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one, mate. New England. I'm not very sure. Shizazzle, what are your thoughts on today's music? I remember receiving some comments from people that asked me that. And to be honest with you, it is not the time of music that I will always connect with. Because, in my honest opinion, there's tons of very talented young generation of artists that make music for what they like to make, and I respect them, but they are not my cup of tea, or some that I had heard from household names that I just really don't like. Just some of the most obnoxious shit I've ever heard. Like Corey Feldman, for example. But some that are obviously not as horrific as Corey Feldman's music. But, with a lot of the modern pop, modern solo artists, a lot of it just either never stood the test of time to me, as that they don't age well for me. Although there are some that I really do like. I like a bit of Amy Winehouse. I have Back to Black on vinyl. Haven't got Frank, but Back to Black, I actually played that. And Bob Dylan made a surprising quote to describe Amy Winehouse. If you can look it up, it's on the Wikipedia page on the Back to Black album, if it is there. If not, just have a look at just the page of Amy as a whole. So, but for many artists, like bands, I respect Arctic Monkeys. I respect the DMAs. They are really good. I remember I did see them in their support set for Liam Gallagher. With modern rock and metal stuff today, there are some that are very talented and some that I do like to support. Omega Diatribe, for example. Omega Diatribe from Hungary, very heavy, low-keyed metal band. They're quite genty in a way. Winter Crescent. I'm friends with the band's bassist on Facebook, and they are a Greek progressive metal band that I highly recommend. Definitely check that band out as well. And Omega Diatribe is another really good one. And speaking of them, I will review one of their albums, as promised, with one of their guitarists I'm friends with, and I still haven't done it. I always feel so idiotic of myself. I am going to do it, and when I will do it, I will let the guy know. I can't pronounce his name because that band's from Hungary, as I said. But I will recommend any metalheads to check out that band as well, like Winter Crescent. Panos CH. I need an opinion. Just bought another guitar totaled too, but I don't know how I can tell it to my parents. Very silly, I know, but we can have some fun. If you have bought a guitar that you always wanted, you should feel happy that you have bought an instrument. If you want to take your time as a musician seriously, I am sure your parents are going to be very happy because, when I wanted to become a guitar player, ever since that I decided to just touch a wooden guitar with acoustic strings, and when they had seen me with my obsession with music, they knew that that special moment was coming. My parents are very happy for me to become a musician. And if your parents are going to be having that same reaction, then I am happy for you. But being a musician does take a lot of practice, a lot of effort and dedication, and that's what I love. That's what I love about me as well. I love being a musician. I love to play whatever I want to play. I like to make music on whatever I like to make and to be inspired by anything and anybody. So, by all means, least, um, go for it. Shazazzle. Now, I don't know about other places, but here in America, it's dominated by pop and rap artists. Yeah, as I said, I did mention about some of the modern young pop, R&B, rap generation of artists that I respect for, but don't have music that appeals to me. I do respect Adele a lot as a new household name. Well, she has been new in success since the last decade, so I love her singing. I love her vocals, but to me, her songs they are good, but I prefer Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse, such a natural legend. I love her soul. I love her passion as an artist. I even love some of the artists like Death Grips to Danny Brown and Kendrick Lamar. So not everything is bad, right? But there are some that I really don't like. And that's not the point for me to be negative in this stream because we're all here. We're an open book. Um, Itachi again. The album "Who's Next" by the Who is amazing, and Tommy is amazing, but also the movie of Tommy I didn't like. You're not the only one, mate. Tommy as a film, it is really strange. I know it has Keith Moon, and the rest of the band, Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend, Jack Nicholson to Eric Clapton and Elton John. The movie is just too strange to me to get into it. Same with the movie of Magical Mystery Tour. It's pretty silly. That's another one that I'm not keen on, but I don't mind it. But Quadrophenia, the film, and to have some snippets from that album, that is a gem. One of the best movies of all time, with one of the best British presentations of British culture ever. My favourite songs by John Lennon are Out of the Blue and Oh My Love. Oh My Love. Beautiful song. Love that one. Out the Blue. Really good. My favourite songs era are from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Most of my music tastes, pardon me, are from really those 3 decades that I listen to so much. But I love a lot of the 90s, as I've mentioned, and some of the 80s. The 2000s do contain some stellar albums. Jizazzle, favourite albums from the 80s are all Iron Maiden albums, Consuming Impulse, Scream Bloody Gore, all Metallica, Seven Churches, Operation Mindcrime, Screaming for Vengeance, and many more. Really cool selection. Really cool selection of albums from that decade, mate. Please hear the song Alone Tonight by New England, because the TV series Red Dwarf, I like Red Dwarf a lot. Got the riff from the song. I didn't know that. I will get to that point, mate. Jake, Sedition Through Scorns, how are you doing tonight, my friend? Or afternoon, where you're at. Heyo, Greg, wanted to come by and see what's up. I have a question. What's your thoughts on people claiming new metal to be not metal? Do you think that term is overused or tiresome? Curious to hear. You know, when it comes to metalheads in general, with genres like new metal, that genre is not fucking fake. It's not fake at all. If it is a legit actual name of a genre, then it is legit. And, you know, with metal riffs, with sampling to rapping, it's just a sound of its own. Slipknot to Korn, Limp Bizkit, Snot, Cold Chamber. You know, I remember some of those bands in the scene. But I didn't mind new metal, though not every new metal act is perfect for me. Obviously, for Slipknot, my favourite band for almost 14 years, since October, they are always very special for me, as well as Korn, as some of the others that are not involved in the genre. And I think the term can be tiresome for a lot of people because it is a very underappreciated genre, but that does not mean that I collect a lot of albums from that genre, because there's tons of bands from the scene that I do give credit, but it just depends on the tone and the style that grabs me. But with new metal being hated, it's just ridiculous. You know, there are some more other genres that I thought are total bullshit, total fake nonsense. But new metal is an actual term of a genre, and I don't get it that people just disregard it. Well, that is a pretty good question, Jake. Your favorite album by Thin Lizzy? I haven't got a lot of Thin Lizzy, buddy. I only have the Thin and Dangerous. No, sorry, Live and Dangerous live album. I think that's what it's called. Thin Lizzy. Um, Live and Dangerous. Thin and Dangerous. What the hell am I doing? 10 likes. We've hit the top 10. Well, not top 10. We've hit the 10 like. Thank you very much. And for anybody that decides to pop in and have a chat with me or just to watch, you're all as great. You're all great for being just dedicating and for being you. I know I said this before, but it does help the channel and myself a lot to, you know, keep the channel going. And, you know, I appreciate every single one of you for being amazing. Ramones are punk or rock? In my opinion, it sounds rock. The Ramones are punk rock because, you know, they are another band that I do love. I love the classic self-titled album. They are more on the punk side, short songs, but with so much aggression of the simplicity of the riffs and the attitude. And, you know, their style's just, you know, right there. Right there. They are a band that never ever gets old to me, that I would love to hear in that kind of style. You know, like other greats, Sex Pistols and the Stooges. Love the Stooges. By the way, have you heard the new Stooges live album that had been released? That's been recorded 50 years ago recently. I don't know about you, but I didn't like it that much. Not the not everything on the album was bad. The sound of it was like a very raw bootleg recording. The playing was sometimes very sloppy, and I think that the energy was there, but the sound of Iggy, he wasn't very prominent, loud enough from the mixing, and the bass, so much bass that I had to turn it down on the bass part on one of the speakers. But I thought it was a pretty good live record, but I have heard better live albums. The energy was there, like I said, but it is not for me. In terms of just like the best sounding and the best live album from the Stooges, or just live concerts, if I would watch a full show. Um, John Daly covers, do you think rock music will become trendy again? I think so. I think rock music is still trying to grow its domination. But here's the thing, with bands that carry that rock style, but with something experimental or progressive, that just continues the rock history to this day as a whole. It continues the genre and its legacy as a whole. I know rock and roll became dissolved more and more and more over time for ages, which is a shame because I love classic rock and roll. But for rock entirely, it's always going to be here. Like the domination from the Britpop scene, Oasis continued that rock trend, and Nirvana, Pearl Jam, to more of the progressive rock bands, Pink Floyd, to a variety of bands that continued that legacy. I still love a lot of the rock music back then, but I love to continue my dedication and make songs in that kind of scene. Your favorite photo album cover by Slipknot? My favorite album cover from Slipknot is the self-titled album. And as you can see a signature at the top of Mick Thompson. So fortunate to have this signed, as well as We Are Not Your Kind, which recently celebrated its first year anniversary upon release, which is still an amazing record. I didn't play it yesterday, but it is always, for now, my third favorite Slipknot album until whatever Slipknot can come up with next. Cam again, opinion on Arcade Fire. I haven't heard them enough to listen to their music and go in a proper detail, but I can see the appeal from the success and the attention. But from what I can hear from some of the tracks, I enjoy them. I enjoy the sound of the band. Oh, for God's sakes, the water's not pretty cold anymore. And I'm pretty roasting still, and it's almost 9:30. Um, and we are pretty close to an hour and a half of the stream. So let's let's continue this. Let's continue rolling this up to 2 hours or a bit more, like the last three. This is definitely one of the best, if not the best, streams so far. The third one was really good, but this one's very engaging, and I am so lucky and so fortunate to see so many comments from a couple of you guys or more to take your time and say hi and to say anything to be involved. Um, no, I didn't. I didn't hear it. I think it was on that album, the Stooges live album. Yes, it was. Your favorite album and song by The Doors. My favorite Doors album is LA Woman, and my favorite Doors song is Riders on the Storm. I would love to see a band come along that would become a modern classic rock band and icons alongside Beatles, Queen, Oasis, etc. Me too. But the thing is, it's pretty rare for a band like some of those guys that will intrigue me to continue um, tons of bands that are super talented that they are, uh, to get into them and to be a big fan. I will give a lot of musicians respect that they are getting a lot of attention and to continue that overall scene and the worth of being such a productive bunch of people. Um, Modern bands that would stand as icons. Yeah, like the ones you said. Sedition Through Scorns next year will mark 20 years of Toxicity. Toxicity, another one of my favorite albums of all time. Iowa, Sinner by Drowning Pool, Gorillaz self-titled, and many more albums in the decade. Do you think you'll do a video discussion about year of 2011 songs? Um, I think with doing a list of songs in general, I do like to talk about songs, but in terms of albums with a lot of material that I adore, I like to be on that path. But since that I like to talk about some songs so much, I mean, I guess I could come up with something. Discussion about a year of 2011 songs. But then some people say a discussion about songs from this year or that year or this year. Um, but if that has to be taken seriously, I may need to do a bit of like a collaboration or something. Or if anyone else decides to make that a thing and for me to be like a guest or something, then maybe I'm up for it. I like your poster of Master of Puppets, one of the best album covers from an album. Yep, Master of Puppets. I've had that poster since um, a long time now, since 2012, I think. It is one of my favourite metal albums of all time, so I had to purchase it. Yeah, it's very difficult because times have changed, really. Loads of things have changed, mate. Positively and negatively. Um, and, whatever stands on anybody's grounds, sometimes we'll have to cope with the inexplicable to some despicable madness. But in all seriousness, guys, I think that this is one of the best streams I've ever done already. Because I am fortunate to see this this whole thing going very, very strongly, pretty much from the start. And I will be more than likely and positively to do another live stream in the next few months. And we're on to the fourth stream of the year so far. I think I will be doing six. Well, fourth one, this one, six streams for this year. Because obviously we're close to well, we're halfway through the year, and if I'm going to be doing another live stream, I would like to do it maybe in October time. And then maybe I would like to do a live stream on my birthday. Because, it will be my 26th. If it plans out, I would like to do a birthday stream and just to share some fun. In my humble opinion, there will never be another band like Queen. Always will be the greatest for me. Can't deny that how unique the band were, and especially Freddie Mercury. Queen are an exceptional band. However, the biggest issue when I hear Queen, and this saddens me, I hate hearing the tons of singles billions of times because of the multiple repetition of overplay that they just ruin the magic on some of the songs. Kind of magic. But I think I don't want to just think about Queen as a greatest hits band, but they are mostly there for the greatest hits. And I thought, that's a big shame because surely there are some great underrated gems from Queen that was not released as a single. Like some of the rock stuff. The rock era from Queen is always my favourite. Some of the poppy stuff, however, a lot of it can be not strong and nowhere near as perfect. Some poppy Queen can feel very cheesy and not as perfect. If you're curious, then my favorite Queen album is Sheer Heart Attack. But I really do dig a lot of the poppy Queen at the same time. But hearing the songs too many times, it just got to the point that I can't stand Don't Stop Me Now anymore. I'm sorry to say that. Bohemian Rhapsody, sorry. It's still a great song for what it is, and it's still aging very well. But it's just gone over popularity driven. I don't want to say any more bad things or close to bad things because I do like Queen a lot. So I think for them being an impactful big band that deserves more love than the critics from their albums, they are brilliant. And Brian May, humble musician, one of the best of all time, and Freddie Mercury, my favourite vocalist. So I guess I'll leave it like that. So I need to get more Queen actually. I have some on vinyl, but mostly for now on the rock stuff. My favourite Genesis albums is from 1970 to 1976. The classic Peter Gabriel era alongside A Trick of the Tail with Phil Collins after Peter Gabriel. I will be reviewing the Genesis discography now that I had ranked their discography. Korn, I need to do the same. The Rolling Stones, I need to do the discography ranking on that band as well. All 23 albums, mostly the British releases, but I will talk more on that when the video comes. I would like to do the whole discography maybe on one or two videos. I'm deciding because I talk about albums very briefly for like a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and sometimes I do go on a bit longer. I think I may do the Rolling Stones discography in 2 videos. I would like to do an albums revisited for a death metal album or a black metal albums albums that would be beneficial and fun to give analysis for what's to be discussed. Yes, I will agree. I am open to review an album in the genre. Or black metal. I reviewed In the Night Side Eclipse by Emperor for Classic Albums Revisited last year. And for the death metal side, I wouldn't mind reviewing some of my favourite Cannibal Corpse albums, and maybe a Suffocation record. However, I did review all of Death's albums, unfortunately. Nile, I love Annihilation of the Wicked. Well, we'll arrange it, May. We'll arrange it. We'll arrange a review for us to review on my channel. Or on your channel, I don't mind. So, Shizazzle, which one do you like the most? CDs, cassettes, or vinyls? I have said about my obsession and my thoughts on the sound of vinyl before, but I hope you can find that kind of video on the channel. But vinyl's my favourite format. CDs, I've been purchasing a lot of CDs lately. For cassettes, not much, because I haven't got a lot of cassettes. The ones that I am still very happy to have, this in part of my Slipknot collection, the radio cassette sampler, the possibly one of the rarest ones of them all is the cassette sampler demonstration cassette for Clown and Blind. Just 2 songs on the same side. I have the cassette for Life is Peachy by Korn. I'd wanted to open the booklet, but I guess it's pretty messed up. I think I bought it from eBay a long time ago, and the booklet just didn't want to come out. But I know what it looks like from the CD. And the other one, Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. To be honest, I don't really think that cassettes are that bad to collect. Yes, cassettes are very fragile, but I think with the rarity and some of the feeling of it being like not extinct but not as collectible anymore, it's kind of a shame. This is the release from Spectrum Music. Spectrum Music. So I don't have enough cassettes to collect for my so-called cassette tape collection. John Daly covers, as massive fan, I actually prefer Queen's lesser-known songs than the greatest hits, even though I love the greatest hits also. That's the thing with bands like Queen, that people should not overplay the same singles and just listen to other lesser-known songs. Same goes with the Rolling Stones, for example, and Black Sabbath. Your favourite album by Motorhead. My favourite Motorhead album is Overkill. I did review that one with the new commentary inspired part of reviewing albums. Inspired by one of my favourite YouTubers. I thought that was Dazed and Confused. No, sorry. I thought Dazed and Confused was by Led Zeppelin. No, Led Zeppelin did get targeted for plagiarism a lot. Here's the thing. When you look at the song of Stairway, the acoustic guitar part, that was not written originally by Jimmy Page. Somebody else made a song exactly like that. I can't remember who and what song it was called, but it's on Wikipedia. So I don't I don't hate Led Zeppelin because of plagiarism, but they are one of my favorite bands of all time, and some of their albums are one of my all-time favorites. I love Led Zeppelin 2 and Led Zeppelin 4. Some amazing quality material on records like Houses of the Holy and Physical Graffiti, and you know, various stuff of stunning musicianship to the tone of the band, even on Presence, which is a very underrated Zeppelin album. Even though that was produced in 2 weeks while Jimmy Page was on cocaine, and with Robert Plant going through a car crash, and John Bonham going through a lot of addiction to alcohol. But yeah, it was a pretty chaotic time for Led Zeppelin. So with Led Zeppelin, just a band that did get targeted for plagiarism so much with multiple court cases. I don't think they were bad all the time because not all of their songs are plagiarized. What are some of your favorite Metallica albums? My favorite Metallica albums are Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. Other high favorites and Justice for All and Load. I really like Kill 'Em All a lot as well. I talked about Load previously on a different stream. I think it was the last time. Load is one of my favorite Metallica albums. I picked that one over the Black Album. Didn't Led Zeppelin eventually do their own original songs? They did do a lot of original songs. Most of them are original songs anyway, so even with some of the big names of the singles, they did get plagiarized, criticism-wise. I only heard 3 albums by Rainbow: Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, Rising, and Long Live Rock and Roll. I'll have to come back to Rainbow. But Rising, damn, what an album! One of the essential albums in the heavy metal genre. And I haven't played that for a long time. You just can't forget how tremendous that album is. Stunning guitar work. Dio, one of his greatest, and the drumming, especially onto that big drum solo. Stargazer is just a corker of a song. Love it. My favourite ZZ Top album is Tayaz. Oh, Tayaz. Sorry for butchering that. I haven't heard a lot of ZZ Top, and to be honest, they're not a band that I love, but I think that their identity and their look and the sound I do respect so much. I like a bit of ZZ Top, but all I hear is just either Lagrange to Legs and Sharp Dressed Man. Give Me All Your Lovin'. Just a very, very obvious selection of those songs. And I do think that some bands that are trios are as important. Blue Cheer, as I've said earlier, are another band that deserves a lot of importance. I love the Jam to Band of Gypsies from Jimi Hendrix, and even artists that are trios. Beastie Boys, for example. I love the Beastie Boys. A trio of a band can still make a full, big, booming tone. And, you know, when it comes to having a sound that's big, it's not only just because of a band that is either a 4-piece or a 5-piece. It depends on whoever you're listening to that you are drawn into what's going on. Jimi Hendrix made his sound mega big, even with the experience on Mitch Mitchell's drumming to Noel Redding's bass work. The Band of Gypsies felt very focused, so funky in places, and very rhythmic. So trio bands are as special. Would you agree that Queen and the Beatles are so very unique? They've always been unique. With Queen, especially with those passionate vocals from Freddie Mercury and the stunning, really good guitar work from Brian May, I think Queen are unique in themselves. Even if they make something that's just very simple and sometimes safe, but something that works out as well as others. I like Queen so much, but for the Beatles, they are very unique. In some way, they got compared in terms of 4 songwriters in the band, and Queen was massively influenced by them also. I would have loved to have saw Freddie and John Lennon doing something together had they were still living. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if, a collaboration with the Beatles or one of the Beatles with Queen, or with the other way round of all of Queen with John Lennon or Paul McCartney. That would have been something. Um, and I always regard that no matter whoever you're listening to, you have to think that even with legendary musicians and underrated musicians, that their talent is worthwhile and worth the attention that they truly deserve. Uh, they tell you to take one album to an island. Which album you'd take, Slipknot or the Beatles? I will have to say the Beatles, because on an island, if I want to listen to metal music, like if there's just going to be on palm trees and sunshine and not much going on, I think Slipknot would be pretty um, difficult to accept. Um, and it's not that kind of scene for me. For the Beatles, it's something more uplifting. It's something intriguing to feel the environment of the music and to, look at a different place and put on a different kind of music that suits your feelings. Uh, Sedition through Scorns, do you have a favorite subject matter of lyricism when it comes to bands, finding different themes or metaphors that really resonated with you? If so, are lyrics really important to the listener? Um, I really get interested in lyricism by whatever type of concept that appeals to me. And also with lyrics being important, they are as important for any band, not just in metal. Um, I do like lyrical themes on fictional concepts to something very um, different to one another, of feeling to something compromising. You know, a lot of the lyrics do resonate with me for a lot of reasons, even for some that are just for the mentality. You know, as I mentioned way back, like almost 2 hours ago, about solo artists that make lyrics that appeal to me, um, just because of how they sound and why they made songs with messages that I relate to. So, for metal, though, I mean, I love lyrics on whatever mood that I'm in. Especially with some complexities, but something interesting, like Tool, for example, or just something that is very effective and just straight to the point, strapping young lad, or something over the top and grotesque, or political. It just depends on the mood. It just depends on the mood on who I'm listening to. And I love lyricism that are based on very clever things. Like maybe some lyricism based on inspirations about their ex- their own not experience. Not saying that word again. I'm trying to match up a different word to connect with from their their own environment and um, direction of meditation, lyrics based on that, or something very interesting from Fortune Cookies, or as I said, fictional concepts to the sound of the mood of the lyrics. Devin Townsend, he puts in a lot of effort in many different ways of lyrics. A lot of it mainly that is relevant for feelings, but I could try and go on. I just love lyrics in a variety of different ways. And that's personally all I would like to think about for now. But it is something as important to dive into as well as the music. Which Iron Maiden remaster do you like the best? The original 1998 or 2015? I prefer the 1998 the best. I don't mind any version of an album. The Iron Maiden Blaze Bailey albums, these were 2015 re-releases that I decided to buy because of getting into the Blaze Bailey era. But most of the Maiden albums are from the EMI 98 um, re-releases. But especially just to hear the sound of the albums originally, like the Book of Souls when that came out. I bought it when it came out. Brave New World. I mean, Brave New World was released in 2000 through through the it says here on the Parlophone Records label. Yeah, I don't mind any remaster. Same goes with the Beatles. Kraftwerk, they're one of the best acts to listen to on a remaster. Even though that the bass for some people can be a little boomy, a bit oomph. Um, are you a fan of 80s love ballads? Maybe not your thing, I don't know. Um, 80s ballads, some of it I just think are very predictable and sometimes sappy. Not like emo sappy, but in my opinion, some of the 80s music are as strong, especially on some of the heavy metal scene. Um, I will mention Black Sabbath again because, with some of the 80s albums from Judas Priest too, Black Sabbath have made albums that are underrated that are phenomenal. Um, Judas Priest with Defenders of the Faith to um, other strong records, Screaming for Vengeance. But for really the main topic, 80s ballads, I don't mind them, but a lot of them just never appealed to me. Best album by the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds or Smile. I haven't heard all of Smile yet, but depending on which version of Smile, if it's either the original release or the box set version, I don't know. Pet Sounds is there for me. One of my top 5 albums of all time. Which band would you consider their songs being relatable to you, things that have happened in your life? Relatable? Um, I can't really say a lot, but songs that connect with me, um, some tunes from Slipknot to Korn with some System of a Down as well, Deftones, but Strapping Young Lad is another. John Lennon. John Lennon's songs do connect with me, and the Beatles. I mean, Brian Eno's music checks itself in the tick box for me to feel like I'm in a different place, but to feel of being who I am and wanting to, have self belief and to go into positivity, as well as thinking about the reflection of my past and to know what I am doing today. Um, so to answer that question, I'll have to maybe really think hard, but it doesn't mean that the lyrics on songs to them that are exactly correct to how I feel, if that makes sense. Do you like the Monkees? Also, the Monkees film Head is so strange. I do like the Monkees. I've not seen that film. I'm personally a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft, horror films, fantasy, spirituality, occultism, gore, and even some pagan Viking history, since the branch is so different and complex. That's a really good variety. It's a really good variety of lyrical inspirations. And I do like some metal bands that are interested that highly to think about um, such a big and not new, but still a unique way of making lyrics with music. What do you think of AC/DC? I love AC/DC. I own all of the Bon Scott albums on CD, some on the Brian Johnson era. My favourite AC/DC album is Highway to Hell. Power Rage is my second favourite. What are some of the most pretty, beautiful songs you have ever heard? Oh gosh. For beautiful songs. One of them being Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd and Wish You Were Here. Um, to some of the Miles Davis tracks of Kind of Blue and Beautiful as in like very soft and jangly to um so soft, or just aggressive. Like it's beautifully made in its nailed on aggression or production. I don't know. Um, I'll have to say maybe I'll have to say one of Bob Dylan's tunes. So many, I would say more, but can't think of a lot at the moment. Bob Dylan, like Shelter from the Storm, to Visions of Johanna, John Lennon with God, and um, Oh Well by Fleetwood Mac, and even Part 2 to even some of the experimental ones. I can't think of a lot for now, but I guess I could just leave it at that. But if I had to think of one more for beautiful songs, I think I would have to go for um, Thursday Afternoon by Brian Eno. There's so many that I could name all in one video, if I would have to, if I'll try. Alright, guys, that is 2 hours. We can keep on going for some more minutes until I'm going to be finishing this off. The next couple of messages. Do you like musician biopics? Ray Manzarek from The Doors was angry at director Oliver Stone because Ray said that Jim Morrison was not like that in that film. I've heard a lot of bad things from that badly received Doors film. When it comes to biopic films, a lot of it does not match very well. I thought the Jimi Hendrix film was very disappointing. It's okay, but for other ones that are really good, Nowhere Boy about John Lennon, Love and Mercy about Brian Wilson, Walk the Line from Johnny Cash, but it has to be done correctly and directingly accurate to nail if this or that is completely true. Because a lot of people, from their views on Bohemian Rhapsody, some people gave it a lot of flack, some criticisms, but I don't give a shit. I think it's a great film. So, a biopic is film history that is something very careful that a lot of people need to do, and to you know think about carefully to properly portray an actual um, documentation on a musician. Blue Drum Torso, what's up, man? I was just about to finish this off. I'm sorry you came here um, all this time. Well, around this time during my time with the rest of us. But feel free to say anything here, because I'm going to finish this up later. But since you're here, I want to give you some time. Thoughts on Bob Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind"? An absolutely gem and a big relevant song in Bob Dylan's career. Love a lot of the political messages. The Wall film by Pink Floyd is strange, and to be honest, I like this film. Now, as a fan of Pink Floyd myself, I have not watched that film yet. I think for me, The Wall as an album, it is overrated. It's a great album, but I don't see it as one of the best albums of all time. It has one of my favourite Pink Floyd songs of all time. I Can't Stand Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. And some of the songs don't follow the connection with me to hear the progression of the overall story and theme. as there were songs to the wall that I don't feel like that they're as complete as others. But it is a really, really good album from start to finish. For me, one of the most beautiful songs ever created is Voice of the Soul. That is a brilliant instrumental as well. Another one that I adore, Albatross by Fleetwood Mac. For me, the best instrumental of all time. John Daly covers, I think Isolation by John Lennon is such a beautiful song. I think everybody can relate to this, as we have all felt isolation a few times in our life, in any form. Exactly. Isolation is another one of my favourite Lennon songs. I am going to be reviewing Plastic Ono Band by him in honour of its 50th anniversary. And that is one of my top 5 all-time favourite albums. Did you hear Bob Geldof saying that he didn't like Pink Floyd and the lyrics? This was before the Wall film. Bob Geldof now likes Pink Floyd. Yep, that is pretty cool because change happens every time. As we continue our time on the planet, oh fucking hell, that's pretty deep. But everything changes from bad to worse, or from good to great, So tastes do go over a lot of people's emotions and ways of anything that they are doing. I don't think there's a great duo between Serj Tankian and Darren Malakian in not just music standards, but their commendable voices, authenticity, and presentation they brought for System of a Down is just epic. Yes, they are another great, perfect metal duo for making some of the best metal songs of all time. So, I love System of a Down, as they are one of my favourite bands still to this day, and they are a nostalgic favourite. And Darren Malakian is a huge influence on me as a musician and as a guitarist. So, yeah. Sorry, I was looking down. I was looking at notifications. But yeah, Darren Malakian, love his hyperness, his crazy antics. I know there are others that do way worse, but interactively. But he's one of the early inspirations for metal guitar playing. Pecky Peck, hi Greg, hope you're doing well tonight. With this hot weather, dude, I thought of a question for you. Do you like the Gong song Heavy Tune on the Shamal album? I haven't heard that album yet, mate. The only Gong albums I've heard are Camembert Electrique and the Radio No Invisible trilogy, from Flying Teapots to Angel's Egg, that's the name, and You. But I have to come back to Gong. I love Gong. Legendary French progressive experimental style metal band, and have a listen to them, people. Guys, check them out if you haven't already. They're one of my favourites. Blue Drum Torso, I downloaded a copy of the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, but I think it was filmed in a cinema. The quality wasn't great, and every now and again you could see a little silhouette of a man. I don't think that's legal for people to film films in cinema. That's really bad. I just didn't expect you decide to do that, mate. But yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is a really good film. I could see some of the criticisms, but some of the acting is brilliant. Have you seen a photo of Bob Dylan in Elvis Presley's home in Graceland? And also Paul McCartney's inputting a toy guitar to Elvis Presley's grave in Graceland. No, I haven't. I haven't, mate. But if you want to come on onto a video of mine and send me those 2 links, those image links. I'll have a look at them whenever I upload a new video. John Daly covers. Thanks again, mate. Hope to be on your next live stream. Catch you later. Thank you very much, John, and thank you to anyone that decides to pop in the first place to stream. To connect with me to the stream, and as I fuck up my words, and have a good time, just to chill and be ourselves, because that's what it's all about, right? This is one of my favourite videos to do, actually. You know, the more I look at the likes, to the viewers, to the messages, this was a brilliant time. Thanks again, mate. Yep. The other day I saw the photo of Paul McCartney pulling a toy guitar to Elvis Presley. Oh yeah. Lol, it was a joke. Little silhouette of a man. Get it? Never mind. What? Hey, now. Blue drum torso. Oh, dude, fuck's sakes. I totally thought that was legit. I thought that was a legit thing that you've done. I was trying to get it, now the more I think about it. Oh dear. Fuck you, man. Just kidding. Actually, one more thing. Thoughts on Motor of Love by Paul McCartney. I love that song. I'll see you later. I haven't, sadly, heard tons of his stuff yet. And I would like to come back to Paul McCartney's solo albums. But, you know, some of the solo stuff from McCartney, I will really enjoy. But John Lennon's my favourite solo artist. And I do like George Harrison's as well. But I'll have to dive into Paul McCartney's more. And need to get into Ringo's. As I think it's very underrated. Yeah, no worries, Blue Drum Torso. No worries, mate. I saw the photos on Google and Elvis Presley official page on Facebook. Okay, that's cool. And Elvis Presley's Graceland Facebook. I'll have a look at those. Man. So, I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, guys. Like I said, I'm just going to finish this after the 2 hours. But if you have any last questions or comments to say, then please do, because it's getting late here. It is almost quarter past, quarter past 10 in the evening where I'm at. And I'm looking forward to see what your comments are before we finish off. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this. And for the other videos that I am going to be doing, What's the Story Morning Glory for Oasis in honor of the 25th anniversary, and for Classic Albums Revisited, which that album's going to be on that segment, by the way. I would like to go to another one of my favourite albums of all time that I haven't thought of yet. Starting to work for the Genesis discography, and I'm going to come back to Korn. I don't know what kind of videos I'm going to be doing, but I will be posting my video onto the meditation part. So the meditation video is going to be something interesting for you guys to hopefully enjoy, and to say what you think about it from my thoughts. Was Paul McCartney jealous of John Lennon, or John Lennon at Paul? I think when they went solo separately, John just didn't like some of the stuff that Paul's been making. and that happened before the breakup of the Beatles during the sessions from the White Album. Um, and I remember Paul being against to one of Lennon's songs, but I can't say which songs, but I know the song "How Do You Sleep," which is an attack on Paul, and I think it was Too Many People that was an attack on John. Both when they went solo, of course. But yeah, shoot me a message on Facebook about the album revisited. Also, best Def Leppard album in your opinion? For me, it's Pyromania. That is so good for their time when they were hard rock. I liked Def Leppard, and I do still. They're not one of the bands I do have a big love and appeal for, but some of the songs sound pretty decent, and I still occasionally hear one or two singles from them on the radio. Blue Drum Torso, damn, gutted I missed your live. Cheers, mate. Don't worry, mate. I will be doing another live stream maybe in the next couple of months because this stream was going to be planned for almost 3 months, but now since we're here, I think that the next streams later on after this are going to be totally worth it. Paul McCartney said in an interview that John Lennon only said once that he liked his song. Do you listen to any Massacre? I remember Massacre. They sound very, very good. One of my friends, David, who used to be a big metal fan, and Massacre was one of his favourite bands, and it was the first album that I really liked a lot. But I haven't gone back to the band for a very, very long time. But now that you've mentioned that, I would like to come back to that band. So I'll have to buy some more albums in the genre as well. Blue Drum Torso, if you are a subscriber to the channel, feel free to comment on any of my videos, and I will be replying to you back. I will be interactive with you, as well as the other guys that have commented and subscribed to the channel. So don't feel like you're missed out, because I do like your comments as well as the others in the stream, and your time to pop into the stream is worth it as well. I like the voice of John Lennon more than the other members from the Beatles. I do love the sound of each Beatles' voices, but John Lennon's voice sounds like the most innocent and sometimes desperate, but it's such a big feeling that I will stand by him as my favourite Beatle than the rest of the other Beatles. I love each of the Beatles, but Lennon is, to me, the numero uno. Sorry you didn't understand my comment of the Paul McCartney interview. I did understand that, mate. But was it a song of wait, hang on. Was it a song of Too Many People or something else? I don't know, actually, so you'll have to remind me. Almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'll have to wrap this up. Well, it's all down to me. I'm going to shut the window and draw the curtains. I forgot what song. Don't worry about it. A song from the Beatles. Lennon and McCartney did have fights, and Lennon didn't like a lot of McCartney's songs. Personally, I think around the era, really from the White Album, but really I'm no historian of the Beatles. Blue Drum Torso, Shizazzle. Anybody else that wants to say some more words to finish it? Your favourite song by Fleetwood Mac? My favourite Fleetwood Mac song, I think it is still The Chain from the poppy side. But my favourite era from Fleetwood Mac is the bluesy Peter Green era. And by the way, thank you so much to the people that have taken the time to see my Peter Green dedication jamming guitar video. And I'm really, really glad that it was worth the watch. And it was the first time I have posted something that involves a cover in a really, really long time. And I know that I did the Virgin T drums only drum cover from System of a Down, but in terms of like a proper cover or just a cover of a jamming track, it's like the first cover in 8 years. And that felt really, really good. It takes me back to the past of uploading covers when YouTube used to be not so strict with the copyright and all that. But since that Peter Green jamming cover was from a backing track, that was something very safe and acceptable and exceptional for me to do, because Peter Green's one of my favourite guitar players of all time. My favourite Fleetwood Mac Peter Green blues era song, it's possibly either Oh Well or Albatross, but I love others. But those two I just go to a lot, the most actually. Do you like Lynyrd Skynyrd? I don't like Lynyrd Skynyrd as well as others. I do like that they are successful, but Free Bird is still great, but it's so obvious. And Sweet Home Alabama, I despise that song. What are some of your favourite video games? I don't play a lot of video games, but I play games mainly from the PlayStation 1 and the PS2. I love games from like The Simpsons Hit and Run, which is my favourite game of all time, to Demolition Racer and Monopoly Party. You know, just some random games. Even some on PC, like House of the Dead 3 to Worms Armageddon. And I did like playing Five Nights at Freddy's. And some games from the PlayStation 2 I do love playing, like Burnout 3 Takedown. I remember playing that, loving it back in the day. You know, I can't say a lot, but most of the games that I did mention that involve me in a nostalgia phase. Do you like Supertramp? I think they're good. I do like some Supertramp. Sometimes upbeat, pretty catchy stuff. Um, and I do think that they are as accessible as some of the other bands that make that kind of music. I say happy birthday to you right now because I don't know if I'm in the next live stream. Really, dude? My birthday is on the 6th of December. So that's the date that I'll be turning 26. That'll be the 6th and last live stream of the year. And, since that my birthday's number 6, I'm really, like, so accepting this to have my birthday as the last stream of the year because of the number 6. Your favorite Eagles song? I haven't heard a lot of Eagles tracks, mate, but I do remember hearing loads of the obvious singles ones, like Hotel California to Desperado and Take It Easy, etc. Anyone else? Blue Drum Torso again, and Shizazel. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I would like to end this on a pretty sweet note, and let's just go for an extra 5 minutes. This is like the longest live stream that I've done for this year. I know I do like to find a way to finish a stream, but I don't want to just finish it like on a question or just something very forced, because I like to interact as much as I can. Favorite album by Rush? My favorite Rush album is 2112. It is one of my favorite albums in progressive rock music. That was the one that I had bought first. I loved the album, but surprisingly, I had been growing back into Rush earlier this year, since about 2 months ago, I think, 2 or 3 months. And I can see why their discography is absolutely brilliant. Brilliant stuff of material, the musicianship. Another band with phenomenal trio sounds of three guys playing phenomenal music. Other favorite albums, Moving Pictures to um, Hemispheres, excuse me, almost said Heritage. Grace Under Pressure, which I've got on vinyl. Um, but yeah, 2112 is, for me, the album that always stands to me as my favourite Rush album for now. When COVID-19 is over and shows are making a huge return, what bands would you go apes for seeing live? That's on your bucket list that you're going to be anticipating when time is arriving. It really depends, because I haven't thought of anybody at all to see any bands live when the COVID-19 is going to pass. I'm not sure if I'm going to see Faith No More, because they've postponed their shows until mid 2021. And I'm going to see Genesis on my 20. No, it was going to be on my 26th, but they've moved it forward to the 6th of April. So I can't really say a lot. But I guess Genesis are bands that are in my bucket list. I mean, I had bought the tickets anyway before they postponed it. Favorite album by Yes, Close to the Edge. My favorite Rush album of all time, and Yes is another one of the bands that I do admire immensely, and their discography is absolutely fantastic. What are some of your favorite Megadeth albums? For me, my favorite Megadeth album is Rust in Peace. For other favorites, Peace Sells But Who's Buying, Endgame, and I will be coming back to the Megadeth discography. That's the last time I'm going to be saying it, because I'm going to come back and review the albums from Euthanasia onwards after 4 years of incompletion, even though I had reviewed Super Collider. Favorite album by Sparks? My favorite is Propaganda. I love Indiscreet so much as well. And favorite song by Frank Zappa? My favorite Zappa song is Willie the Pimp from Hot Rats, with Captain Beefheart on vocals. And I love that Zappa just goes on a big 5 minute jam, like more than 5 minutes actually, of his tremendous lead guitar work and with the wah-wah, while the rest of the band that he was with, really shine on as strongly. And to me, it's one of the classic songs in Zappa's career, There's loads that I love. But there's just a big load of Zappa songs that I will definitely think about as a high favourite, but Willie the Pimp's my number one. Do you like the Robert Plant solo albums? I haven't heard any of his stuff yet. I've only heard most of Led Zeppelin's stuff for now, but I am going to get into those. So, here we go, guys. Right now, that's 2 hours and 30 minutes into the stream, my longest one yet. And I think I would like to leave it at that, as I said it earlier, but this is like now the time for me to say that I would like to call it a night. Thank you so much to Itachi, Shazazzle, Sedition Through Scorns, to Blue Drum Torso. Don't worry that you haven't tuned up earlier on. There is another time, and you will be tuning into the next one if you see my notification on the next live stream or video. Favorite Soundgarden song? I haven't got any yet, but my favorite's Rusty Cage for now, man. So yeah, it's getting late. It's 10:30 in the evening, and once again, I am all welcome to see future suggestions for a post that I'm going to be saying for the next live stream. But this was really great on suggested music topics from some of the comments I've read out, and the sharing tastes of bands, solo artists, and genres, etc. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, to be super dedicating and passionate for music. And I'm sweating my hair out here. Well, in here, obviously. Anyways, thank you very much. Cheers to all that have clicked like and watched the live stream. Thank you for subscribing. And just to be a tremendous group of people, I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.